All right, 1 second there. All right, welcome everyone holding by the Book of Leviticus Chapter 16. Again, want to welcome everyone holding by the Book of Leviticus Chapter 16. We're in verse 30, 1 second, verse 30, 31, or verse 30, 1 second. Let's double check, sorry, verse 31. All right, holding by verse 31. And again, want to welcome everyone holding by the Book of Leviticus Chapter 16. Chapter 16, verse 31, Torah says, as we spoke last week, but got one other thing to point out here. That is Shabbat Shabbatoni Lachem Inisam Es Nafshav Seichem Hukas Oilam. Right? The Torah says that Yom Kippur is a Sabbath of complete rest for you. You shall afflict yourselves, i.e., means to fast. You're going to fast, and it's an eternal decree. So we mentioned, right? An eternal decree means forever, right? Seemingly forever, right? So we mentioned last week that said Moy Rebbe, Arav Agon or Moshe Moshe should be well, and it brings down in Tam V'das, it's commentary on Chumash, and he said, and he brought down from a Perkei the Rebbe that says there's going to be 2 holidays, lovely, in the future. There are going to be 2 holidays. Even after the Messiah comes. One of them is going to be Yom Kippur. One of them is going to be Purim. Right? Purim to show that there's even miracles in nature. Right? Because we wouldn't have understood, all the things that happen. The fact that Haman becomes second in charge. Then you have this whole story with Esther being queen. Whole thing of big son Zeresh, want to kill the king. It's all these things are events that do not look significant, right? But in the end, they're extremely significant. Yeah, but the only thing is, it's covered by nature. It's covered through nature, right? We don't see an open miracle here, even though each event is important. And through each event, it's going to bring, eventually, Haman's downfall. So because of that, each event, okay, we see the miracle is hidden by nature. It's the only book not mentioned, doesn't mention God's name. If you look through the entire book of Esther, God's name's not mentioned. Now, Yom Kippur, interesting. So we said by Yom Kippur, a little bit hard to understand, the whole point of Yom Kippur is atonement. So if we're not going to have an evil inclination, we're all going to be doing God's will. How is it possible? How is it possible that we're going to sin? Right? Seemingly impossible. That we're going to sin. So the point was, I didn't really have an answer, but the point my Rebbe made there was that since it's a holy day, it's such a holy day, that holy day is going to continue. Right? The holiest day of the year. And that's when God came down through the different worlds, different heavens, right? The 7 heavens, and drew close to the Jewish people, okay? But there's another aspect over here, another question. So it says, the Torah says, very beginning, verse 31, Shabbos Shabbosoini. It's going to be what? It's going to be a Sabbath of a complete rest. Now, there's an obligation here to afflict ourselves. All right, to afflict ourselves on Yom Kippur. Affliction means, the rabbis tell us pretty clear, a fast. It's a sundown to sundown fast, right? One of the Torah fasts. It's sundown to sundown. Now, Rabbi here says, one of the things that are forbidden, one of the things forbidden in Yom Kippur, and that is you can't anoint yourself, right? They used to, way back when, They used to anoint themselves in oil, right? Make their skin smoother. That you're not allowed to do, right? Showering, not allowed to do. Washing your hands only up until your knuckles, not your full hand. You're not allowed to wear leather. Right? Leather also an issue. Wearing shoes that have leather. Also relations. Person's not allowed to have relations with his wife. Yeah. But when are you liable for being spiritually cut off? When you eat, when you drink. The liability over here for being spiritually cut off is only when you eat and drink. Because that's the main affliction. Right? That's the main affliction. Go to Yom Kippur, that's the hardest part. Right? Typically the hardest part is you're fasting. Can't drink, can't eat. The Rebbe says, the Moshe Kenu, better known as the Bali Tosfos. Bali Tosfos is one of the great group of commentaries on the Talmud. Also, they had a commentary on Chumash. In the older editions of Chumashim, their commentary is there. And even in newer editions, they placed it in. But what do the Moshe Kenim say over here? They bring that it's forbidden even to wear shoes that are permissible to wear. Let's say slippers, Crocs, things not made, tennis shoes or sneakers, depending where you're from. Shoes in it backwards, right? Sneakers or tennis shoes, right? So in Boston we call them sneakers. Other places they call them tennis shoes. Whatever the Bali Tosfos over there say, or let's say better, they say over here that these things are allowed to wear. Tennis shoes that don't have leather, Crocs, that are not leather, shoes that aren't leather. You don't even allowed to wear them in the house. It's one thing to wear them outside. You go outside, you want to go to synagogue, wherever you're going to go. Yeah. So you're allowed to wear them outside. According to this opinion, you're not allowed to wear them even inside. Even though it's permissible to wear Crocs, tennis shoes, other things. Even inside to be forbidden. Probably told you the same. Why? Because it's brought down as being the form of a shoe. So anything in the form of a shoe, according to them, should be forbidden. Right? Well, the majority opinion is, if it's in the form of a shoe, but the shoe is permissible to wear, I can wear it. I can wear it outside to get to synagogue. I can wear it in synagogue. So according to the Bali Tosfos, if it's in the form of a shoe, no matter what, forbidden to wear. But the question, where are they going to go? They have to walk to synagogue, how are they going to go? Usually Yom Kippur can be kind of cold. Could be rainy. Yeah. So Rebbe brings down that in the book called Ma'aser Rav Chadash. Ma'aser Rav Chadash are things brought down from Elijah Vilna Gaon, a blessed memory. So my Rebbe's mother was an eighth generation descendant straight to the Vilna Gaon. The Rebbe came out with a book and all these different things that the Vilna Gaon was accustomed to doing. He put it in the book. So it says over there, in the name of the Gra, that the Vilna Gaon said, where he prayed, his own minion, where he prayed, he forbade any type of shoe. Anyone coming in can't wear shoes. Right? That was his psak. Right? So his halachic decision was, can't wear shoes. Anyone who wants to come to my minion, you're more than welcome. But you can't wear shoes on Yom Kippur. Right? Even if they're not made of leather. Why? What's the problem? Because he says it appears said to give strength to the foot, for the foot to be able to go. Right? It's going to be kind of hard. You walk outside in slippers. Forget slippers. In socks. Go walk outside in the sidewalk, 10, 15 minutes. in socks. He says the whole point of a shoe is what? To give strength, to give support to what? To your foot. And your foot's going to go out. Because you're going to go to synagogue, or you're going to go wherever you need to go. So therefore, the Vilna Gaon said, no, forbidden to wear shoes. Forbidden to wear shoes. So he only allowed people to wear shoes, even if they were permissible to wear. It had to be what we call a tzorch gadol, tremendous need. Tremendous need. Or for somebody that's a little bit, what's the word? A little bit finicky. Probably not the right word. Spoiled. Spoiled may be good. Or someone who really needs to wear them. In other words, think, what? I'm going to go out without shoes? You know, in this cream puff generation, yeah, who would consider going out without shoes? Besides kids. Yeah, who would go without shoes? So talking about weaker people. No, what do you mean? I need to wear my Crocs. I need to wear my shoes. So the Vilna Gaon said for someone who really needs it, or someone who's, Kaufman would say, is a cream puff, could wear them. Could wear them according to the Vilna Gaon. So then my Rebbe says, that was the custom, also the Chazon Ish. Rav Avram Mishai Karlitz, a blessed memory, known as Chazon Ish. Torah Giants, the last generation, nothing to talk about. And they say that the Chazon Ish was accustomed to go on Tisha B'Av and on Yom Kippur only in socks. He didn't wear shoes. Like the Grove here said, like the Daskenim over here said. But again, that's not the main halacha here. We hold, vast majority rabbinic authorities hold, you're allowed to. You're allowed to go out with shoes that are not made of leather. Your tennis shoes, your Crocs, whatever. You're allowed to go out. Vilna Gaon, the Chazon Ish said no. Said just pray in socks. It's a little bit strange to think about it. You know, think of our Western ideas. You're going to pray in socks? Like, come on. But you can't wear shoes. The law is it's only leather shoes. So anyone who's part of a Jewish community will know that when they see Yom Kippur, Tisha B'Av come, they'll see everybody wearing shoes. Maybe in synagogue, maybe some people take off their shoes and they'll just pray in socks. Okay? But people go into synagogue, you see them in shoes. Most people. And I've seen people pray in socks. I've never seen people walk in socks. Sounds like a good Dr. Seuss book, a rhyme book, right? Walks in socks, walks in socks. Right? Is your tongue numb? And you remember the old Dr. Seuss book. Anyway, I don't want to digress here. So the Chazon Ish, a blessed memory, went like the Gra, the Vilna Gaon, Rav Elijah Vilna, right? Also like the Das Kain and the Bali Toysi. That out, they shouldn't even wear shoes. Shoes that they don't protect. We don't need protection. Yom Kippur is a totally different day. Even if it's permissible to wear shoes, we're not going to wear. We're not going to wear shoes. And the Chazon Ish prayed in socks. The Vilna Gaon did also. And anyone who's part of that minyan. Okay? So what's the normative halacha today? You wear tennis shoes. You wear Crocs. Right? Shoes not made of leather. That's the point. And you go out with them, you wear them. Does that mean if I go to synagogue, I should take them off and pray in socks? No. Just pointed out, this is an opinion. This is the opinion of the Vilna Gaon, of Elijah Vilna, Chazon Ish. Could be others hold that also, but it's not the majority opinion. Right? 100%. 100% it's not the majority opinion. Anyway, just pointing that out. Yeah, so says my Rebbe on that. Yeah, I guess before we go to the next verse, see if there are any questions. Any question on any of that? Up until now. All right, let's go further. Maybe we might actually finish the chapter here. We'll see. See how far we go. Verse 32. Verse 32, Torah tells me, Kiper HaKohen, Asher Yimshach, Oisoi, Asher Yimale, Es Yado L'chaim, Tach Es Aviv, Lavash Es Big Day Abad, Big Day HaKodesh. So here the Torah says, the Kohen who has been anointed, right? There'll be anointed Kohen, i.e. the high priest, who's been, or not even the high priest, let's say better, regular priest, right? Let's say he's been anointed. He's been anointed, and he's been anointed, or he's been given the authority to serve in the place of his father. Yeah, he's got the ability to serve because either he's anointed or he's serving in the place of his father. Shall we talk about the high priest? He shall don the investments, the sacred vestment. In other words, when can someone be the high priest? Either if he's anointed, could be anointed the high priest. He could also inherit the high priest. He could take the place of his father, who was the high priest. Yeah, that's what the Torah tells me. Comes on Rashi. Rashi says that the Kohen's been anointed. He shall atone. What does it mean he shall atone? I.e. the atonement, he cannot now. Let's make clear. What does the Torah tell me? Torah tells me, again, the Kohen's been anointed or has been given the authority to serve in place of his father shall atone. Now, Rashi's commenting on what is he going to atone for? He himself, again, let's make very clear, he himself is not an atonement, right? No human atonement over here, right? It sounds like Christianity, right? He's not atoning. He's gaining atonement for the Jewish people, for himself and for his family. Comes on Rashi and says, the atonement we're talking about, he shall atone. What's it talking about? The atonement service of Yom Kippur. That's what it's talking about. Yeah, that's only valid if performed by the high priest, by the Kohen Gadol. Yeah, that the Gemara says, Yuma 73a, makes pretty clear whoever's going to serve to gain atonement for the Jewish people, that person has to be the high priest. Can't be a regular priest. Can't be a regular Kohen. Regular Kohen, not allowed to serve. Not allowed to serve as a high priest, unless either he's anointed or he's taken over for his father. Yeah, but who's going to perform the whole service of Yom Kippur? That's what we've been speaking about all these weeks. It's going to be the high priest. Since the entire portion has been stated about Aaron, we've been reading week after week, right? It's all talking about who? Aaron HaKohen. Aaron HaKohen performing the service. Aaron HaKohen is what? The high priest. He's the one performing the service. So therefore, it's necessary for the Torah to say, "Kohen Gadol Abacharav," the high priest, who's going to succeed him. That will be like Aaron. Will be allowed to perform the service on Yom Kippur. Now, what's it telling me here? The Torah says, this is what Rashi is commenting on. Whoever's going to do the service, first of all, it's got to be a Kohen, that's for sure. Either he's anointed as the high priest, or he takes after his father. Now, how do I know? How do I know? Rashi says, because the entire portion is talking about who? From the very beginning, it's talking about Aaron HaKohen. What's Aaron HaKohen's position? It's the high priest. That's his position. He's the one who performs the service. So therefore, the Torah needs to tell me that whoever's going to succeed him, right? Whoever's going to succeed the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, He will be like Aaron. How's he going to be like Aaron? How's he going to be like Aaron a Kohen? Simple. He'll be allowed to perform the service of Yom Kippur. So Rashi's telling you, whoever takes over for this high priest is going to have the status of the high priest. If he's anointed or he takes over for his father. But since we learned this whole thing from Aaron, the whole part is talking about Aaron and performing the service. Very good. So therefore, the high priest, whoever that's going to be, is also going to do the service. Therefore, it cannot be done by any regular priest. Got to be done by the high priest. That's the first thing. That's the first thing he mentions here. Second thing Rashi here says is, or who has been given the authority, right? Again, what does the beginning of the verse say? Cohen has been anointed or has been given the authority to serve in the place of his father. What does that mean? What would I have thought? First, it might have thought that what? It says the Kohen who has been anointed alone. Yeah. That I only know that the Kohen Gadol, the high priest who was anointed with the oil of anointing, may perform the service of Yom Kippur. In other words, what do I understand? The one who's been anointed or is going to serve in the place of his father. The one who's anointed, I would have thought, is anointed with what? With oil. Right? How did the high priest get anointed? With oil. He got anointed with his anointing oil. So I would have thought that what has been given the authority on the base of the Kohen has been anointed alone. I would have thought that. And the Kohen who's anointed with the oil, he's the one that's going to serve. From where do we know? So that's very good, Rashi says. But how do I know? How do I know that the one whose garments were increased? In other words, you're going to have extra garments. You're going to have another 4 garments. How do I know that these 4 garments are going to be increased? That you're allowed to perform the service with them? Because the Torah tells me, the one who has been given the authority. Now, what's going on here? Right? What's going on here? Before we go further, now remember, in the time of the tabernacle and the Mishkan, in the first base of Mikdash, until the reign of Hosea, the high priests were anointed with the oil of anointing. Right? That's Exodus chapter 30, verse 30. Right? I should have actually, even before I get there, what do we say? How do I know you're going to add extra garments here? Right? The other 4, because the Torah says, or was given the authority. Well, what do I mean? What does Rashi mean? It's given the authority. Those whose garments were increased are all the Kohanim Gadol, and they're all of the high priests who held office from the reign of Yoshiah. For in his days, flask of oil of anointing which remained from the days of Moses was hidden away. In other words, the anointing oil was still there. It was hidden. It was totally hidden. It was totally hidden over here from the time of Hosea and before, time of Moshe. But those garments were increased from all the high priests who held office from the reign of Yoshiah. Yeah, so now, so in order to understand, give a drop of background, right? And that is like this. That is the period of the tabernacle, the Mishkan, and the first base on Mikdash, first temple, until the reign of Yoshiah. The high priests were anointed with oil of anointing, right? That we said. That's Exodus chapter 30, verse 30. In other words, the high priest, how is he going to be anointed with his anointing oil? Well, what did Yoshiah do? He hid the oil. Right? Yoshiyahu he hid the oil and other sacred objects of the base on Mikdash. Why? Why would he hide the oil? Because he understood. He understood, he foresaw the Jewish people were going to go into exile. Therefore, he didn't want the sacred objects of the Beis Hamikdash going to exile with them. So from that time of Yeshayahu, there was no oil of anointing. It was put away. Not the high priest become anointed. Or how'd you know they're the high priest or not? They were distinguished. The Gemara says from other Kohanim. How were they distinguished? How could you tell different Kohanim from the Kohanim Gedolim, from the high priest? Only through their wearing 8 garments. Because ordinary Kohanim only wore 4. So they added four garments in the inauguration to the office of Kohen Gadol was accomplished by the new Kohen Gadol performing the service of the 8 garments. Now, what's really going on here? That Kohen, or the high priest, is supposed to be anointed. Right? The high priest is supposed to be anointed. What's the problem? Problem is, I don't have the Shem and Amishcha. I don't have the anointing oil. If I don't have the anointing oil, how can it be the high priest? It's got to be anointed. So it tells me. Exodus chapter 30, verse 30. What did Yoshayahu do? He foresaw that what? Jewish people are going to go into exile. And he foresaw that what? Whoever's going to put them in exile going to desecrate the temple, desecrate sacred things. So what did he do? He hid them. So how's someone going to be anointed the high priest? So it says you need anointing oil. So what do you do? Right. So here, the inauguration to the office of the Kohen Gadol, or being the high priest. Yeah, how was it done? It was done by performing the service in these other 4 garments, i.e. in 8 garments altogether. As the Gemara says, Yuma 12b. Because I got a problem here. Right? Rashi says, again, one has been given the authority. How is a person, how do they become the high priest? How are they given authority? Right? Either you tell me, right? Either you tell me they're given authority because they're anointed, or they're taking over in place of their father. Well, I got a problem. Got a problem here. How can you say he's anointed? There's no anointing here. The oil's been hidden. Yoshayahu hid the oil. So how would a high priest, if he's going to be the high priest, you can't anoint him. That's what the Torah says, Exodus chapter 30, verse 30. If you can't anoint him, what do? How does he become the high priest? Good question. How does he become the high priest? So the Gemara says, how does he become the high priest? Well, Rashi brings out over here, he puts on another 4 begadim. Other 4 vestments. He puts on 8 altogether. That distinguishes him between any other Kohen. But if you're going to tell me he's got to be anointed, the Torah said specifically he's got to be anointed. So now what do? You never have a high priest again. If he can't be anointed, then you don't have Yom Kippur. Because the high priest has to be anointed. So what happened at the time of Yeshayahu? Yeah, for the time of Yeshayahu and further, there was no oil. There was no oil to anoint. He hid it because of what he foresaw, divine providence, or let's say better, Kodesh, divine inspiration, whatever you want to call it. He foresaw the Jews are going to go into exile. Very good. I mean, not so good, but Jews are going to go into exile. Jews go into exile. Guess what? The oil. He hit the oil. He didn't want it to be desecrated. Okay. Some say, in one person generation knows where all the vestments are and, and all that. So he hit it. So how is someone supposed to be anointed? That's the problem. Yeah, if the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, has to be anointed, he's not anointed it. From the time of Yoshayahu and further, before the temple's destroyed. So what are you going to do? The rabbi said, if you don't have the oil, then the only way to be anointed, and you're going to tell the difference between the high priest and every other Kohen. The only way you're going to tell the difference by the vestments that they wear. Right? That's what the Gemara says. Because otherwise, if they don't have any anointing oil, we just said, he can't be anointed. He can't be the high priest if he's not anointed. Well, we don't have any oil. If you don't have any oil, you can't anoint him. Oh, can the rabbis tell us? Yeah, so we better have the oil. If you don't have the oil, you make him wear more vestments. And that's how he becomes a high priest. Right? That's one thing. Now, it's interesting also. Also, it says that, how do I know that one of his garments are increased may perform the service? Maybe someone who's wearing extra garments can't perform it. Maybe it's only 4 garments. How do I know? Because it says the one who's been given the authority to serve. Right? Now, it's an interesting thing. What's the Hebrew language here? The Hebrew language is, it says, Vasher Yemale es Yada. Literally, he's filled his hand. He filled the hand. What does fill the hand mean? Fill the hand over here means giving authority. That's what filling of the hands means. Right? It's associated with giving authority. By the Torah with wearing the garments of the priesthood. That's Exodus chapter 29, verses 8 and 9. Yeah, but it's a little bit of a strange language. Tonight, and I could have all these Karaites come out and say, okay, what does it mean to fill your hands over here? They have to come up with their own interpretation. The rabbis tell us, what does it mean? We learn out from Exodus chapter 29, verses 8 and 9. Filling of the hands means taking power, giving authority. Yeah, that's what it represents. Yeah, so then Rashi said, again, in his days he hid it away, which remained from the days that Moses was hidden away. So they didn't have it. So essentially they didn't have the anointed oil, but if someone wore the extra clothing, the extra vestments, then they could serve. Then 100% they could serve. Now the last thing over here is that the Torah says he served in place of his father. Yeah, what does that mean? To teach us that the Kohen Gadol's son can fulfill his father's place, he takes precedent over any other man to succeed his father. Yeah, so the Medrash over here says very interesting, that who should succeed the high priest? Right? Who should succeed the high priest? The one who should succeed the high priest should be a son. He's probably got the stock to succeed, to be the next high priest. Right? He's got everything going for him. His father's high priest. Pass it on to him. So what does that mean? It means if he's fitting to be the high priest, then he takes precedent. He takes precedent over anyone else. That's what Rashi's telling you. Now, where's Rashi get it from? You say he got it from the Medrash. Yeah, but how does Rashi learn it? Because the Torah says he's going to serve in place of his father. Who? His son. How does he gain the authority? He's serving. He's taking over for his father. Very good. He's taking over for his father. Okay. That means he must be worthy. He's got to be worthy. If he's not worthy, he doesn't take over. Some other Kohen will go up the ladder. No pun intended. Right? He'll take over. But if he's fitting to be the high priest, he comes first. So you're going to say, well, that protects you. That's having connection. This is what Korach got upset about. What did Moshe Rabbeinu do? Who did he make the second in command, i.e. the head of the high priesthood and the priesthood itself? Because he's also a Levi. Comes from the tribe of Levi. Brother. The Korach's going bananas, but I also want to be the high priest. I also have great people coming out of me. Shmuel Navi. Samuel the prophet, he saw through divine inspiration. Right? He saw Shmuel Navi's coming out. He said, what, you think I'm a slouch? One day we'll get to Parshas Korach. I don't know, maybe when about 102, right, at this rate. But Korach had a claim. He said, you're playing favorites. And who am I, chopped liver? I got Samuel the prophet coming out of me. I saw that in future generations. Samuel the prophet who anoints King David. What do you think, I'm nothing? Right? Moshe Rabbeinu said, it's not up to me. I don't make these choices. Don't you read what the Torah says by the Ber Hashem of Moshe Lamor? By the Ber Hashem of Moshe of Aaron Lamor. God spoke to Moshe or spoke to Aaron, saying, tell the Jewish people this, that, and the other thing. I'm not playing favorites. Right? That's what killed him. He mocked Moshe. Right? Very hard parsha to understand, Korah. He was one of the 20% came out of Egypt, saw the miracles in the desert, held the ark. Not everyone held the ark was worthy and died. He wasn't a fool. He sat there and mocked. Got 250 great people to be convinced. They all got swallowed up. The Mishnah Perkei Avos says, desire, honor, jealousy can kill a person. Some of the commentaries say literally. What could happen to Korach? Very hard to understand. But see, anyone who's going to come out of Aaron Cohen, someone who's going to be a priest, whoever's the high priest, who should be the next high priest, if they're fitting? Your son. You're going to say that's cronyism and that's this and that's that. No. They have the stock. If they have the right stock, they come first. A rabbi of a synagogue, let's say. He retires. Who's going to take over? If the rabbi has a son, that's just as fitting. They'll give it to him. It's considered like an inheritance in a certain way. That's why the whole question by converts, spoken about this before, converts not about that position of power. Where do you want it out from? It's a technicality. Technicality, when the Torah speaks about a king, and making someone a king over the Jewish people, the Torah says it's got to be me'echav, right? First in Deuteronomy. All right, we'll get there. I don't know. When I'm about 106. Yeah, God grant me long days. Yeah. So the question is going to be, who can be king? Who can be a king of the Jewish people? He has to come me'echav. What does it mean from his people, from his brethren? Yeah. It means someone who's born a Jew. That's how the rabbis learn. Someone who's born a Jew. Convert's not born a Jew. He might have had a Jewish soul. It was on Mount Sinai. Got messed up. Right? There was assimilation, intermarriage. Okay? Don't matter. Right? Irrelevant. You're not a Jew. So from there, what does the Torah tell me? It tells me that someone who's going to be king is a position of power. He's going to come for your brethren, but it's a position of power. So the rabbis learn out that there are certain things convert can't do because it has to do with power. Again, there's nothing, not a personal vendetta. Torah's going to single out converts over here. There's a technical issue. Right? And the issue is got to come for your brethren. There was a whole problem. Agrippus, the king, cried when he wanted to be king. Jewish people. And he cried because he saw this verse, right? Even non-Jewish kings actually, understood a little bit about Torah. It's only a lot more than we do today. They knew a lot. Yeah, so he came to this verse and he started crying. Right? He said, it's never going to happen to me. Because if I convert, I can't be king. Right? He posed this question to the rabbis. It's a terrible thing. And they tried to pacify him. Yeah. Try to pacify him. Say, no, you're our brother, you're our brother. Because they said that, they tried to suck up to him to a certain extent, my language. Jewish people were absolutely severely punished. Why were they severely punished? Were they worried if they didn't suck up to him, he's going to wipe out all the Jews? They worried about that? I don't think they're worried about that. But they want to make him feel good. They wanted to appease him. That's the word. Pacify, appease. They wanted to appease him and say, no, you're our brother. Don't worry about it. You're still our brother. Right? Even if he converted, so what? Yeah, he's our brother, but he still can't be king. There's a technical issue. Technical issue. Not a personal issue. That's what the verse says. Right? And the verse speaks about power with kingship. The rabbis learn out, you have to be from your brethren, and it's a position of power. So now the question is, what things, if someone converts, would a convert necessarily be limited to? So one of them is being a judge, rabbinic court judge. I spoke about this last year, or almost a year and a half ago. I go up north twice a week. One of the things we started learning was the laws of judges, the laws of damages. Starts out with the easier part with the laws of judges. Right. So one of the questions comes up: Can a convert be a judge or be a court judge? So it comes out to judge other converts, not a problem. When it comes out to be, what about judging Jews? Are they allowed to judge Jews? If the Jews accept them, they qualify. So it could be it's okay. But what about other positions? Because it's a position of power. What about being the head of a yeshiva? What about being above the rabbi of a synagogue? That's what we're going to get to in a second. Right? So my Rebbe, Rav Sternbuch should be well. Rav Moshe Feinstein of blessed memory. Yeah, they say the same thing. Be the head of the yeshiva, it's not a position of power. You're going to tell me they could take students, they could, throw out students. Yeah, that's not called necessarily a position of power. So that to be the head of the yeshiva, not a problem. If they want to give classes in the yeshiva, not a problem. What about being a rabbi of a synagogue? Right? This is what we're going to get to. What about being a rabbi of a synagogue? Comes on, Rav Moshe Feinstein says no problem. He says absolutely no problem. They can even be a rabbi of a synagogue. Rav Sternbuch says no. Why does Rav Sternbuch disagree? He disagrees because if the rabbi of the synagogue, leaves or retires, who takes it over? Or who should take it over? If he's got a son, the son inherits. If the son is worthy, the son should be first, just like we said over here. Right? By the high priest. If you have the son who's qualified, he comes first. When it comes to the rabbi of a synagogue, now again, it's really a technical issue. What's inheritance? Right? Many synagogues, you have the father, maybe the grandfather was a rabbi, then the father took over, then his son took over. It's a position of inheritance. If they're worthy. If there are no sons that are worthy, maybe they'll take a son-in-law. If there are no son-in-law is worthy, they'll take anybody. Right? Anyone they feel is qualified. Now, Sternbuch says over here, there's a problem. There's a technical problem. Technical problem is if a convert dies, kids don't inherit. In the secular world, a non-Jew can inherit their parents. In other words, parent dies, if they leave them anything, they can inherit. By a convert, it doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. There are technical reasons why, but it doesn't work like that. So the kids really technically don't inherit. Unless they would put in a will, the kids are going to inherit. But in general, if there was no will, technically they wouldn't inherit. Anyone could take the property, seemingly. Right? So based on that, when it comes to inheritance, if a convert can't inherit, so Sternbuch says they can't be rabbi of a synagogue. Because they can't give that over to the next generation. They don't have that power. It's a technical issue. And nothing to do with, We're attacking converts here. There's a technical issue. There's a technical issue. So why do I mention it? How to get onto this? There's always a method to the madness somewhere. And that is because the Torah here says, as Rashi says, the son can fill the father's place, be the high priest, and he takes precedent over anyone else, if he's qualified. If he's not qualified, someone else will take precedent, right? So then the question is, okay, so what about a convert? Could a convert do that? Convert's not going to be a high priest, doesn't matter. He doesn't come from tribe of Levi. Yeah, so he can never be the high priest, but that's not the point. Can a convert inherit the position to his kid, to be the rabbi of the synagogue? Comes along Moshe Feinstein and says, yes, not a problem. Not a problem. He knocks this whole thing out. He says, not a problem. Sternbuch disagrees. And he says, the problem with inheritance. Inheritance over here doesn't work because they can't inherit. Right? They can't inherit. So there's technical issues. There's a technical issue. But where do we learn it out from? Where do we learn it out from that a convert can have a place of power? Position of power in general? Learn it out from a king. From the Torah, extrapolates from a king. The Torah says that's to come from your brethren, may echov, from your brother. The convert can't be called your brother, technically. I convert. Someone will say, what? We're second-class citizens? There's a technical issue. It says from your brother. Who's your brother? A Jew, not a convert. He is your brother in other ways. I was just learning something today, about something, whether non-Jew could do certain things. If they give gifts to the temple, does it have any validity? Is it holy? Is it not holy? Right? So there's a whole way to learn it. Some say it's only talking about Jews. Non-Jews can't do it because you don't know what their intention is. Yeah, there are technical issues. Technical issues here. If they have the right intention, maybe it's good. But how do I know what their intention really is? Right? Sometimes they could have the right intention. They do something, let's say maybe taking tithes or whatever. But if they have the right intention, the Jew standing right over them might be good. Right? In this case, what I was learning earlier, there's a doubt. There's a major doubt. So if there's a major doubt, what do? You can't use it. Right? You're not allowed to use it, technically. Yeah. Remember, you're sanctifying something to the temple. So how do you know what their intention is? They can tell you what their intention is, may be true, may not be true. Right? So there's certain things, either, non-Jews or even if they convert, there are certain technical issues. Right? And, people take this like it's not fair. Let's say someone's a mamzer, a child, that the woman's married, let's say, it's a forbidden relationship. She has a child. That child's called a mamzer. The mamzer can only marry someone of that same relationship or a convert. And those children still are mamzerim. Doesn't stop it, right? But they're allowed to get married either someone of that same union or a convert. Now, there's no question, should they have children or not? Who said you're allowed to bring more mamzerim into the world? But that's not really the question. The question people ask is what? We're second-class citizens? Right? Why is it we can only marry a convert? We can only marry a mamzer or someone of a similar union. Right? What's the problem over here? This mamzer is blemished. It's blemished. Yeah? So Jews have a pedigree goes back to Mount Sinai. So a Jew doesn't have any blemishes. They're not allowed to marry someone like this. It's a blemish against them. Oh, but a non-Jew, someone's going to say, but weren't our souls at Mount Sinai? Wasn't my soul there? Okay, maybe it was. So at this stage, whether you could prove it or not, are you a Jew or a non-Jew? I'm a non-Jew. So there's a pedigree issue. Jews have a higher pedigree. We are the chosen nation. God chose us. We chose him. We got that extra aspect of the soul, for better or for worse. We said, Naaseh v'nishma, we will do, and then we'll hear what God says. Non-Jews don't have that pedigree. Oh, they want to convert? Very good. Very good. But remember where they came from. Where they came from. You're going to say, don't they have the status of a cotton shanola dummy? They're like a newborn baby. So their status is totally changed. It's totally whatever happened before. Whatever happened before is totally erased. Yeah, very true. Very true. Can't you have converts reach very high spiritual levels and be great rabbis and this and that? Sure. But there are certain things, technical issues that are limitations. Yeah. You can say it's not fair, and this is what the Torah says. This is what the Torah says. By most things, there's no difference. There are certain things, there's technical issues. Yeah, the other question always comes up is, why can't I marry Cohen? Why can't a woman marry Cohen? So I'll tell you, a Jewish woman, let's say, who's been around, also can't marry Cohen if she has a certain status. We don't discriminate, Jew or non-Jew. Yeah. I don't hear, Balei Tshuva, women, or, that weren't religious. They grew up Jewish and weren't religious. Become religious, and then they say, why can't I marry Cohen? They get all offended. A Cohen status today, except here in Israel, they bless the congregation every day. Outside of Israel, only on the high holy days and on Shavuos, Sukkot, or Passover. There aren't too many differences today, between them and everybody else. Okay, they can't go to a cemetery. I'm sure that bothers some of them. They can't defile themselves unless there's a dead body and there's no one there to bury them, because they have an extra level of holiness. Okay, more than that, there's not really practical difference. Why? Because they're not sacrificed. Right? They don't stand out more than anyone else. They have a certain pedigree that we don't. Okay. Right? I can't do what a Kohen does or what they could do. Right? I'm not a Kohen. I don't come from that tribe. Because it's not fair that, okay. Not a question of being fair. I don't come from that tribe. At the end of the day, Elijah the prophet going to sort it all out. Who comes from what tribe, and he's going to sort it all out. Okay. Right? Because I get this question a lot. Which tribe am I going to come from? No idea. I don't even know what tribe I'm going to come from. It doesn't matter. Whatever it's going to be, I'll find out later. It's not like such a burning question. I do know people bothered by it, but okay. Practically speaking, it doesn't matter. Right? But people are going to say, oh, but I can't marry Cohen. Yeah. Plenty of Jewish women also can't marry Cohen. Okay, so is there a Cohen the end all things? You think, but they have the highest level of holiness. I don't plenty of Kohanim. I'm not that impressed by it. Yeah. I mean, they have a higher pedigree, true. That's true. Depends how you use it. But practically speaking today, it almost does not distinguish between them and any other Jew. Practically speaking. If we have the temple to bring sacrifices and doing other things, okay, major difference. But there's not any real practical difference. But that's something that people throw out a lot. I want, why can't I marry Cohen? It's not fair. And there are technical issues there. Person did certain things. They're liabilities. Doesn't matter. You knew what you're doing. You didn't know what you're doing. Came into Judaism later in life. Whatever. Who cares? There are liabilities. There are repercussions. You didn't know about it? Okay. Yeah. These are technical issues. This is not, we're just going to say all Bali Tshuva women, a whole bunch of hussies and whatever, and this and that. We're not saying that. I mean, it could be true before they came to Torah mitzvahs. Who knows what people do? Yeah. But at the end of the day, we're not living in Victorian England. People understand this. We say, we hate secular, we hate Bali Tshuva women. No, they can't marry Kohanim. It's a technical issue. There's a technical issue why they can't. Same thing by converts. But the I shouldn't say it's funny. Maybe I'll say it's ironic. But I don't hear Bali Tshuva women say, "Oh, too bad I can't marry Cohen." if they're introduced to someone and they are a Kohen, okay, you have to get the issue clarified. Yeah. But people make it out to think, oh, I'm going to marry this Kohen, and this, it's about pedigree. Yeah. Rabbi's mother, blessed memory, would say, you know what pedigree is? You know what genealogy is? Just add another couple zeros. That's all it is. You can have a great pedigree. That's worth something. Imagine someone grew up in an illustrious family. An illustrious family. Relatives are rabbis. Relatives are, rabbinic court judge. I mean, generations. That's a huge thing. Cousins, you got tons of cousins, relatives, all religious. Yeah. We'd all look different probably if that was the case. Okay, that is definitely worth something. No question. No question about it. Yeah. I went to bris with my grandson on Thursday. The other side, my son-in-law's family's got 13 siblings, 8 sisters. Got 8 sisters. Yeah. So, a lot of it's extended family. I know. Just I know through the years. So that's a huge thing. Cousins get together. They know each other. Yeah, they're all doing the same thing. Some more, some less. But they keep Shabbos. They learn. They went to yeshiva. They went to girls' schools. Whatever they're doing afterwards. But they're all doing the same thing, give or take. That's a huge thing. Families get together on holidays, on Shabbos, different things. It's huge. I never had that. I told my kids, you won't have it until you get married. Right? Until you have kids. And then the cousins get together and this and that. That's the way it's going to be. But it's sad. Okay. Yeah. But now it's a whole different thing. I got, grandkids the same age. I got 2 grandkids now 10 days apart. 2 years ago, they were 2 days apart. Same daughters. Had children 2 days apart. These kids are very close in age. See each other, much as they can see them. That's what it's all about. And I told my kids, you'll never have that. Not with your cousins. You never have it. Sad. Very sad. I never had it. They never had it, but their kids will have it. So the kids will have it in a major way. I can give me another 10, 15 years. I can have another 10, 15 grandkids. Who knows? Who knows? Family gets bigger. So that's a whole different thing. That's a whole different thing. You see, the extended family is huge. Huge. That's what we live for. Yeah. Doesn't always work out, whatever. But genealogy is worth something. It's definitely worth something. But each person, Torah is not a Yerusha. Torah is not an inheritance. It means you got to fight for whatever you have. Doesn't matter what your family pedigree is. It's irrelevant what your family pedigree is. You got to fight for it yourself. Pedigree helps. It helps in the sense where you have extended family. When you have extended family, that's huge. It's huge. Problem is, I never had it. I never had it. I know other people never had it. It's sad. Very, very sad. But, my grandkids will have it. My kids with their extended families will have it now. But they didn't have before. Okay? Well, that's pretty amazing what you can do. But this question comes up a lot. That's why I mentioned it. It comes up a lot. Right? And people have to understand, it's not about we're trying to degrade converts. We're trying to degrade, returnees to Judaism, Balei Tshuva. There's a reality, though. I want people to understand there's a reality. Can a person, if they convert, can they get married? They can get married. A number of people get married. Can it take longer? Yeah. Will the people never want to marry you? Yeah. That's the same thing in my own family. And people, because of certain things, they want to marry with Balei Tshuva. Okay. So we wouldn't want them anyway. Fine. And someone told me many years ago, your kids will marry similar families to you, right? That's what happened. It's very true. But there's a reality. Some people will say, I want certain things. You don't have it. You don't bring it to the table. look elsewhere. Okay. You're going to say, isn't that, doesn't that annoy you? No. Why should it annoy me? I understand it. Because a lot of baggage comes with it. No question. Not that we're going to flake out or anything's going to happen. Been this way for 30 years. Right? But it's like you're taking a risk. The kids are not taking a risk with because they're born to a religious family. So the kids aren't necessarily taking a risk with. But you marry your whole family. You marry extended family. Yeah. Grandparents, cousins. If you see them, you don't see them, whatever. That's part of the package. Some people don't want it. Some people just want, no frills. They want to go easy. They don't have to deal with, can I give them a blessing under the canopy? I can't give them the blessing. Offending people. It can be complicated. It can be a whole mess. Now, I've had to deal with a lot of messes. Yeah, you're right. Right? Every time one of my kids gets married, so I have to explain the other side certain things. These are things we can do, these things we can't do, and that's it. Try and do the best of my ability, give as many honors to people I can. If you can't, you can't. Certain things you can't do. Not about discrimination. There are technical issues. That doesn't make me smell like a rose by any stretch. Yeah, but it's not going to change. Unless certain people change. But if they're not going to change, so what are you supposed to do? You can't reinvent the wheel. It is what it is, right? I hate that expression, but it is what it is. People want to change, they'll change. They don't want to change. I'm not turning the Torah into a pretzel to accommodate someone. Just not going to happen. If there's a way and it can be done, and then okay. And if not, what do you do? Nothing. The only question is how much damage you do. Damage control. Right? I'm very good at damage control. Sometimes you just dealt with a certain hand and that's it. Not much you can do. You have no wiggle room. Oh, come on, can't you find some leniency? No, there's no leniency here. There's nothing to do. What would you like me to do? Nothing to do. I had this about going to a wedding of an intermarriage. We said 20 years ago, we're not going to an intermarriage. Period. What do you think? We're kidding? Try to use this as a deterrent. So certain people went intermarry. Okay, they didn't listen. And now I should try and jump through hoops to find some permissibility that's a travesty of a mockery of Hashem? Come on. Yeah, I didn't look very good at that. There have been a lot of repercussions because of it. Okay, so what do? You get ostracized for being a fanatic. Okay. Nope. Life goes on. No, it doesn't change. We got to be strong. There's certain things you can't do. That was my answer. If we are Orthodox Jews, how could we go to such a thing? You don't have to be happy about it. No, that's not the question. That's not the question. I got hammered this a number of times. Someone would say, well, my granddaughter is very nice. The only problem is she isn't Jewish. I go, well, that's a problem. That's a huge problem. Yeah. You got to take a stand. Oh, I never do that. This is the single biggest problem in Judaism today. Now, some may take the approach and say, like someone asked me this last week. There was a case where a girl's really pretty much gone off. They're trying to, help her get back on track. She's dating a Christian. So the question is, what do you do? What do the parents do? So I said, my approach is going to be a hard line. You want the child to come? Said you're more than welcome to come. You come whenever you want. You can't bring him. Now you're going to say you ostracize your child, maybe. Maybe you will. Right? Some others may say, try and bring the non-Jew closer to get to the Jew. Maybe. Right? I've heard that also. That's not a mainstream argument today. It wasn't a mainstream argument 20 years ago either. Right? But there is what to be said for such a thing. You're going to say, but you might ostracize someone. It might be your own child. Okay. You can't say it's okay. You can't allow it. You can't allow it in your house. How can you allow it in your house? You're going to say, well, the person may never come. May never come. They may get totally offended. Okay. What are you supposed to do? You're in a bad situation. Right? It sets bad precedent. You let them through the door, it sets bad precedent, like you're saying it's okay. Other people say, no, you're leaving the door open. Ha, no pun intended. Look at that. I made a pun. Yeah, you leave the door open. Maybe the other person will want to convert. You don't totally push them away. Could be what to be said for such a thing. I think it's dangerous. Tremendously dangerous precedent. Don't say, well, you never know what you do if it's your own kid. Again, if it be your own kid. I think that's the approach. Certainly my Rebbe's approach, no question. I think it's other people's approaches also. But there are crazy things that go on. I told this story before. There's somebody who keeps Shabbos to whatever extent. I don't know, to what extent. When somebody gets marry a non-Jew to boot, they have the wedding on Shabbos. Yeah, on Shabbos. Now, if they have the wedding on Shabbos, to this day, person's mother told me, to this day, this person will not speak to this other person because he didn't come to the wedding. He couldn't come, it was Shabbos. He made the wedding on Shabbos. What do you expect? Forget he married an non-Jew. He probably would have gone if he married a non-Jew, I'm sure. I don't think he wouldn't have gone. I'd be shocked if he wouldn't have gone. He probably would have gone. Not on Shabbos. But you have the chutzpah to get married on Shabbos, which is forbidden. For a number of reasons. Not the topic for now. But you get married on Shabbos. And someone can't travel there. What do you expect? You spit in God's face and someone keeps Shabbos. What do you expect? How could they go? How is it even possible to think that they should have been there? Because you don't know anything. Person's a fool. Doesn't know anything. Right? He grew up in a mixed up house, but what Shabbos was and other things. Yeah. Doesn't really know what Shabbos is and how to observe it. Certainly doesn't know how to observe it. Yeah. But to expect someone to observe Shabbos to come on, to break Shabbos, essentially. To break Shabbos, what do you expect? It's not going to break Shabbos. This person's not going to break Shabbos to do that. You're going to hold it against them? Because the person won't come? And you did it on Shabbos and married a non-Jew to boot. That's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. So the person's mother told me, till this day, you will never speak to him. This person's son will never speak to this guy who wouldn't break Shabbos. Yeah, what does it tell you? Sad. All right, very, very sad. What are you supposed to do? What are they supposed to do? Camp out? Camp out right next door to this place? There's nothing around, let's say. I don't even know where it was, wherever it was. They know where to stay and nowhere to go. How could he go? How can you do it on Shabbos? I know someone that son got married. Non-Jewish son got married. They converted. It was during the 9 days. 9 days, you're not allowed to listen to music. Someone can have weddings, but okay, it's a non-Jew. It was on Shabbos. So he said, Rabbi, I'm going to the wedding. What do I do? I'm not going to go to the wedding of my son. But obviously he knows what Shabbos means to a certain extent. Obviously he doesn't care. Okay. But the question wasn't, should I go or shouldn't I go? That wasn't the question. The question was, I'm going, so tell me how I'm allowed to do it, what I'm allowed to do. I gave certain guidelines. They play music, you got to walk out, can't eat the food, you got to, obviously be within walking distance. I mean, a lot of things. Got to be mixed dancing, got to walk out. Music, got to walk out. Yeah, it's going to be very uncomfortable. But they said, I have to go. Everyone makes their own decision, or gets guidance in making a decision. There are certain red lines. There are certain red lines that we have to be strong in. It doesn't matter who, doesn't matter how much pressure. Parents, siblings. Yeah. We're getting flack for certain things. Well, what do? There's nothing to do. There's no apology. You don't have to make an apology. Someone told me a story. That was kind of funny in a certain sense. A Jew marries a non-Jew. Yeah. Jew marries a non-Jew. They do it in front of a justice of the peace. Why they go in front? So the justice of the peace says, "Oh, so you're not going to go to your rabbi or your priest to do it. So that's why you're coming to me." Like a real. It's a good line. It's a good line. Smack that person right upside the head. Surprised they even let them do the service, quote unquote. Yeah. What do they tell them? It's like, oh, can't go back to where you want to go because they won't do it. So you're coming to me, right? As if to say you're doing the wrong thing, stupid, right? And now you're coming to me to fake, to make it all good. That's what they were saying, essentially. How can you be privy to such a thing? Forget saying it's a good thing. That's even beyond. Yeah. Like someone said, my granddaughter-in-law, the only thing is so beautiful, this, that. Those kids won't be brought up Jewish. Of course they're not going to be brought up Jewish. Yeah. What happens in intermarriage? Especially if the woman's not Jewish. Don't be the person not nice. It could be the nicest person in the world. Very good. So. But I would never this and I would never that. And that's not what God wants. Yeah, God doesn't want people to intermarry. And they agree. That's probably the biggest problem with the Jewish people today is intermarriage. Okay? But can't be a fanatic like you. And you can't be a leftist like you and say it's okay. So I'm not saying it's okay. But I would never put my foot down. You're right. Of course you wouldn't put your foot down. Because they say goodbye to your granddaughter, your grandson. He's not going to understand. He's going to think you're a racist. Right? You don't really keep that much Torah mitzvahs. Right? Or whatever they keep. But at the same time, come on. People don't want to lose their grandkids. Yeah, I know someone who gave, everything to their kids, try to give them the best Jewish education. They have nothing to show. Wasted money. All non-Jewish grandkids, and none of these grandkids will ever have bar mitzvah. Like, okay, like that's like the minimal thing. They won't even have that. Sad. The only thing I can say is you brought it upon yourself. This person brought it upon themselves. They didn't listen to advice. And they did what they did. They didn't know what they were doing, okay? They were given advice. They didn't take it. There are repercussions. 100% there are repercussions. And we all have to deal with repercussions, things we go through, decisions we make. But sometimes you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And when you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, there's always some things you can do. The Torah is not silly putty. Right? Torah's not even a shrinky dink. Whoever knows what a shrinky dink is. Yeah. Yeah. So, at the end of the day, sometimes we're going to make very unpopular decisions. You're going to say, why would God put me in this situation? Why do I have to feel like I'm Avram Avinu and fight against the world? because that's what position he put you in, or you put yourself in, or whatever the case. Okay, we'll say we never chose it. The people will say religion's not supposed to break up people. You're right. Either politics should also break up people or break up families. But, the Torah is very precise in what it says. Torah takes no prisoners here. Torah says what's permitted, what's not permitted. Yeah, there's gray area. This is why it's extremely important a person has a mentor, a rabbi, someone in their lives to guide them. Because these things, as the English would say, get dicey. Get real dicey. Because there are things people want, people want everything. You can't give them. They want recognition. They want recognition of being a travesty of a mockery of a sham. And they want you to recognize that. So you're going to say, okay, you're entitled to your life. I believe it's wrong. People don't want to hear that. Guarantee people don't want to hear that. They're saying you're backwards. Don't put me in that position. I'm not telling you what to do. You can live your life, you got a free choice. You can do what you want. It's your choice. I know someone, whatever, was divorced, eventually got remarried, but whatever, they lived together before they got married. They were much older. Right? So someone makes a comment, says, oh, you probably think I'm living in sin. I said, you are. Yeah, but, she's so old, she never get pregnant. It doesn't matter. Two Jews, you got to go through the proper channels. It's not like non-Jews can just live together, be Noahites, and that's fine. And that's what we call marriage. And if someone walks away, that's divorce. Doesn't work that way by Jews. Okay? Don't say, oh, you think that's bad? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I answered straight. Yeah, it's called living in sin. They're like, whatever. You're entitled to your opinion. Okay? Don't pussyfoot around. It's wrong. I'm not going to ram it down their throat. Maybe I should have. Eventually they got married. Fine. I know someone who got flack for getting married. Which is the irony of irony. Yeah, their husband died. Right? Their husband died. And what happened? What happened? Their husband died. They met someone later. And they got married. Yeah, so one of the sons doesn't speak to them because they got married. Like, I guess never got over death of his father. Okay. Right, I'm not gonna, that's not something to sneeze at. But at the same time, this woman at least has values. Old-fashioned, quote-unquote, values, much older than me. But she said, I'm not going to do anything until I get married. Got to make it, legit. The son doesn't get it. This person's showing at least some sense of morality. And the son said, again, it could be the son has other issues. Never got over death of the father. Okay. Again, I'm not gonna play that down. It's not a small thing. Fine. But she wants to have real values. Somewhat. So she says, I'm not gonna do this until I get married. Not gonna live together. This, that. It's immoral. Very good. At least that. And the kid like go to speak to her because of it. Why'd you have to marry him? Because you're not allowed to not be married. You're not allowed to live together. Secular Jews before they're married. Forbidden. Could be a Torah prohibition, rabbinic prohibition. It doesn't matter. Forbidden. Period. That's why you're not allowed to do it. So this person to this day doesn't speak to them. Does not speak to them. Because this person, had morals, had a moral backbone, and, got married. Which is the right thing to do in that situation. Otherwise, you're right. You're living in sin. It's forbidden. Right? But this person took it as an affront to his father. Okay, it's a different issue. That's a different issue. But he's like, why do you have to do that? You got offended. Okay. Again, I'm not saying it's a small thing, but at the same time, you can't be immoral. Just like, okay, you have to deal with it however you're going to deal with it. I can't live an immoral life. Yeah, that's a very strong statement to make. I'm not going to be immoral. So you have to deal with it however you deal with it. That's the right attitude. Second marriage is always hard, on the kids, whether it's divorce or a person was widowed or whatever. It's hard because it's not the original parent. There's a lot of balance and a lot of, delicate things people have to deal with, in that situation. Okay. At the same time, if they're going to get remarried, that's the right thing to do. Who said you have to be immoral? Because your son didn't grieve or, is still mourning his father. Like, okay, you got to explain. You got to explain to him. Listen, his father's memory is still there. I understand it's sore and I understand it's hard and whatever, but I have to live my life. I have obligations to myself. I found someone who loves me and I love him and everything is good and whatever. And we're going to get married. I'm not going to live, that type of life. And this person 100% right according to Torah. Plenty of other things wrong according to Torah, but this one, they got right. They don't want to be immoral. Makes sense. So here, the son said, no, I'd rather you be immoral. It's ironic. I'd rather you be immoral. No, they're sticking by Torah values to a certain extent. But if you don't have a guide, you don't know how to look at it properly. Yeah, so your view is totally skewed. Totally skewed. Again, I'm not playing down when someone dies and the remaining spouse gets remarried. I'm not saying it's not hard, for the kids or the family, whatever. I get it. But she's entitled to be happy. She wants to do it right. And what to be said? Sad. All I can say is that, you have all these skewed values in the world. And if you don't have a Torah way of looking at it, it's just, I want you to make me happy. I want you just to look the other way and this and that. Well, it's too bad. Because God doesn't look the other way. God doesn't say it's okay. And that's what I care about. I care about what God wants. You have to be sensitive. That's true. And a person has family members, let's say, that are intermarried. You got to be sensitive to a certain extent. Can't just spit on the non-Jew who happens to be married to your cousin or whatever. Can't do that. Right? But at the same time, there are things you can't do. And let's say the non-Jewish spouse is a guy. Sorry, the Jewish spouse is a guy. The non-Jew is a woman. So they have children. So the father wants his child to be bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah or whatever. Now, we hold the child's not a Jew. So how could you go? So the server is going to be a problem to go, for sure. Yeah. It's a bar bat mitzvah for a non-Jew. Yeah. Non-Jews have bar mitzvahs even according to Noahide laws? No. Is there any connection to it? No. Now, the question would be, what about a reception? Could you go to the reception? Yeah. Is there anything wrong? I mean, it's a joke what they're making into. Because, that's where the Jewish education is going to end. 100% is going to end if they got any Jewish education. Right? But here you're paying homage. You're going to something that is really forbidden. You got to say, well, it's only a party. It doesn't mean anything. Right? Even if the kid isn't Jewish, it doesn't mean anything. So why can't you go? Because of what it represents. You make enemies, okay? You end up making enemies. Maybe some will say, The whole thing's a joke anyway, so it's just a party, so why can't you go? The servants you can't go to. That's for sure. Someone say maybe you could go. Just come, say Mazel, I don't know, say Mazel Tov, whatever. Come, be part of it a little bit and leave. Maybe there's nothing wrong with it. Why? It doesn't mean anything. It's just, it's just a get together, it's just a party. Okay, might be a fancy thing in a country club and who knows what. But whatever. Maybe it's okay to go. And just walk out. You don't stay very long and you leave. Or do you say no? You say the whole thing's a joke. How can you be a part of it? Right? That's what I would say. It's a joke. Not a bar mitzvah, it's not a bat mitzvah. The kid's not Jewish, period. Again, I'm not saying you have to ram it down their throats. They probably understand your position. Like, why can't you just look the other way? Why can't you just accept? Because there's nothing to accept here. Someone told me, this person would never disown their grandson or their kid or whatever. And, and all the brothers get, well, that's beautiful. Everyone's got an open mind till the brains fall on the floor. That's beautiful. But it goes against everything we stand for. Someone I went to yeshiva with went to a intermarriage of his sister. He said, but everyone knew I was there on the protest. I said, yeah, you were dancing the hora, eating your kosher food on the protest. Everybody knew you were there on the protest. How could you go? Should have sat there and ripped your shirt and been on the floor saying Tehillim and crying. What a travesty. Travesty. I can only imagine the pressure this person was put on to go. Family pressure, yeah. Not going to say it doesn't exist. It exists. 100% it exists. But at some point, you got to put your foot down and say, listen, there are things I can do, I can't do. People cannot expect, they do. They'll say, you just have to accept everything. Right? You just have to accept everything. And that's it. You have to accept everything. Why? There are things I can do, things I can't do. That's the way it is. Right? This is the way it is. Are you going to be popular? Never. You're going to be popular in God's eyes? You're going to do what God wants. Again, is God saying you should ram it down their throat? No. But you have to make your position clear. I know someone had a brother intermarried, and a lot of things didn't apply to him. He was in Israel, they were in Canada. So it wasn't like, they made bar mitzvahs, they had to come in, this and that. He had it easier. I had a lot of things easier. So I wasn't around. Yeah, and then I've been there. And I had one thing when I was in the States for a couple of years. I had one thing, and it was a disaster. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Can't you find permissibility? Can't you be open-minded? No, there's nothing to do. Nothing to do. What do you want? It's what it is. It's a Torah true, it's not true. And sometimes we have to make very unpopular decisions. But you got to be like the Rock of Gibraltar. You got to be strong as fire. That's what you have to do. People can call you names. People can say things. Okay, so what did my Rebbe say? Let them go eat kugel. They can go eat kugel. That's it. It's tragic. It's sad. You cannot turn the Torah into a pretzel. Torah is not a pretzel. It's not silly putty. It's not like shrinky dinks. It's the real deal. Sometimes you got to be unpopular. That's what you got to do. I'm not saying to be unpopular to be unpopular. I'm not saying you say things you shouldn't say. I'm not going that far. Not going that far. But if you're put in a position, like I've been put in a number of times, but it's not their fault. Whose fault is it? They made a decision. And everybody pats them on the back and says, good job. Pick the right person. You have unbelievable kids. And, may all be true. They may have great kids. Spouse might be great, this and that. In the end, you're only focusing on the fact that the person's not Jewish. That's the most important thing. And this is the single most important thing that's destroyed Judaism from within today. So how could you say that's a good thing? They're not claiming to be open-minded, not at all. But I have to sit there, they put you in a corner. They boxed you into a corner. And they say, you have to say this is good. It's like saying castor oil, yeah? Person's got a cold or whatever, I'm going to drink castor oil to get rid of it. Yeah. You're going to tell me it's good. Oh, no, it tastes like castor oil. Yeah. Yeah. It tastes like gasoline. You're going to tell me it's good. Oh, it's going to make you better. No, I beg to, maybe it will. I don't know. I'm not taking it. Take something else. But they put you that's a bad example, but they put you in a corner to say something you cannot say. So what do? Lie. No, can't lie. That's worse. Can't suck up to them. That's even worse. You got to tell them, it's no offense. This is something I can't do. This is something that the Torah says is forbidden. This is something is a huge transgression. There's nothing to do. Doesn't change anything. But people take it as a personal affront. And you're saying not worth anything because they're not Jewish. I didn't say they're not worth anything. They are not Jewish. That's true. They didn't even go through any, conversion. Even if they would go through a conversion. Well, they're not going to go through a real conversion, so it doesn't matter. And they don't even have to convert. That's not the problem. The problem's with you. You married someone like that. And they're like so old-fashioned. And so this. Show me where the Torah says it's not true. Show me why it's not true. Show me why the Torah says half a dozen times or more that you're not allowed to intermarry. Show me why that doesn't apply today. Why you have to live, like in the conservative movement, they say, you got to change with the times. I don't know. The Torah doesn't tell me that. We just got through saying last week at the Chok. What was the language here? What was the language you saw in the previous verse? Chukas olam. What's Chukas olam? An eternal decree. A lot of times the Torah uses that language. Forever doesn't change. Totally doesn't change. So what do you want from me? Right? Like someone told me a few weeks back, the Torah says what it says, but it's interpretation. Isn't that nice? Yeah. So what is it? You're going to tell me, all the laws of Shabbos, interpretation. All the laws of Kashrus, interpretation. So I said, do you have to listen to the rabbis or not? So the Torah telling me, Deuteronomy chapter 17, it says you listen to the Kohen in every generation. Those are the rabbis today. Yeah, what do you do with that? Who said you have to pick and choose? Torah doesn't tell me that. What do people want? They want to do what they want. That's the bottom line. And they want to be okay with it. They want to say, I'm just as Jewish. If you're Jewish, very good. Yeah, if your mother's Jewish, very good. If you're not doing the right thing, that's bad. But I will tell you, if you want to give, a half-baked education, your kids will come out half-baked. Yeah. Someone asks, friend invited me to their daughter's baptism. Oh, and to the party. I can tell them I can't go. Tell them you're not a Christian anymore. I don't know if you want to be that blunt. But to say I can't go into a church anymore. And I don't believe JC's the Messiah. I mean, I don't know if you want to start a conversation like that. But you can say there's certain things that, I don't do anymore. I don't go to these services anymore. I don't believe in these things anymore. I mean, if you want to really tell them you're going to convert to Judaism, then I might throw them for a loop. Yeah. But there's certain things you can't do. You just don't do anymore. I told people that. Some people respect. Other people think it's crazy. Like you're a fanatic. Okay. This fanatic has 7 kids and 8 grandchildren. Okay. I just told my mother earlier. It says, yeah, I'm the one that has the most amount of great grandkids. Of course. Good. We didn't have, If you didn't have me, you'd have less. You have much less. Right? You'd have one. I gave you 8. I said, so things are going to grow by leaps and bounds through me. So my mother said, you're right. I mean, whatever. I wasn't bragging. I'm just saying that's the way it's going to be. You know, how why people have kids today. You know, I have a friend of mine, daughter just graduated. He's got one kid. Daughter just graduated from college. And her must be 21, 22. He'll be lucky to have grandkids before he's 70. I would say. The average person gets married, let's say, in the late 20s or early 30s, at least 8, 9 years. 8, 9 years. You're going to be 65. You know, it'd be like 90 to see a great grandchild. He's lucky. Other people don't even have kids. Totally don't have kids. You know, it's tragic. I know my wife has a great aunt. She should be well. She had 3 kids. One got married shortly after, got divorced. The other 2 never married. And they have grandkids. They used to come a lot, you know, to see my kids. They had no grandkids. It's tragic. And today, everyone, you know, you got to figure out if you're a guy or a woman. You don't know. You know, you got to think about it. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I mean, there's a lot of peer pressure out there that's like crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Now we say people can say whatever they want. You know, about me, and I told this person a few weeks back. I said, people can say what they want. Doesn't matter. But I did it right. Doesn't mean all my kids are going to come out the way they should or whatever, but I did it right. You do it right, you get at least a 90, 95% chance it's going to work. And your kids will come out the way they should in different ways. At least keeping Torah mitzvahs. So you got a very high percentage. I said, that's the only way it works. But this person could not wrap their head around the idea of why they failed. And it's a hard thing. I didn't want to hit them, you know, too hard. But they couldn't wrap their head around it. And I said, if people don't believe it and they don't live it, they won't pass it down. I said, I live in a community. There are more than 20,000 children here. 20,000 children. How many schools are here? Hasidic, Sephardic, Ashkenazic, Chabad. You know, each class is like 30 kids, 35 kids in a class. I'm not saying that's good necessarily. We have parallel grades. That's how Torah gets passed down. That's how it works. That's how it works. It doesn't work any other way. I've never seen it work any other way. But I said, you got to believe it. It has to be inculcated when they're younger. Whatever happens when they're older, they got free choice. A lot of pulls of the street and other things can take them away. But in general, you got a 90 to 95% chance it's going to work. I'll take those chances. And I'm reaping all the benefit. All the benefit. You know, I mentioned, you know, Thursday I went to this bris. You know, the most of the extended family of my son-in-law's family. It was beautiful. You know, it was beautiful. My son-in-law's cousin did the bris. His uncle was, you know, held the baby. I know the uncle, his wife made the match for this daughter. You know, I've known them for 30 years. I know the family 30 years. You know, so, you know, I see them all kinds of different things. I saw the grandparents there. It was beautiful. You know, the way it should be. The way it should be. You know, I've seen the way it shouldn't be. The way it's a disaster. You know, people say it's because of people like you and this. I said, but Judaism doesn't survive without people like me. It won't. I told this other person also. I said, if you don't look like me, you'll disappear. You just disappear. You know, they don't know what to do with that because they're not going to admit they did things wrong, whatever. And they'll say, not everyone's supposed to be Orthodox and all. Garbage. Either you believe it or you don't believe it. You know, but why people, even if they believe it, even if they say, well, I believe God gave the Torah, very good. But it's all interpretation. No. You know why you say it's all interpretation? Because you want to do what you want. That's it. You want to make God in your own image. That you're not allowed to. That 100% is forbidden. Yeah, but I'll give everyone some strength there because I've gone through the ringer more than once. Right? And that is, You know, you gotta tell people this is what I do. This is what I can't do. You know, if you get together for Thanksgiving, you gotta bring your own food. And they say, well, don't come if you're gonna bring your own food. So don't come. But he said, but I really want to see family. I want to see family. They bent over backwards, get me food. I ate before I went. I brought stuff. It was easier. I picked up some stuff on the way. So I had food. I wasn't going to put anyone out. But, they accommodated. Very good. Yeah. But you can just dress the way you dress like I do. And people just their claws come out. Because they have all these biases against it. Why? Because they don't want to be told what to do. They just want to feel okay with their Judaism. Well, it's not okay. It's not okay. I'm not going to ram it down their throat unless they ask for it. But in general, I'm going to be very neutral, very parv. Unless someone asks them. Somebody asks, one person's very bad, bleeding. Should I retail him 6'3", 41, 88, 103? Probably. They're all good. They're all good. Say Psalm 121 and 130. It's also good. Right? Those are the main Psalms you say. 120, if someone's sick, I think it's 100 and let me just verify. Pretty sure. I think it's 121 and 130. Let me just double check. Yeah, definitely 130. And the other one is 121, right? I was right. 121 and 130. Those are the Psalms to say. Those are the Psalms to say. If someone's really sick. So somebody mentioned converts in the Torah are very important. You're right. Can't make fun of them. Can't remind them of their past. Right? There are a lot of laws dealing with this. I'm just pointing out there are certain things converts can't do. They're limited. They can't, there's certain things they can't do. And it's based really on technicalities. Not because we just want to push them up. But you're right, converts very important. You know how many laws in the Torah say about not making converts feel bad and all that? Many. Some people don't care. They just say what they want. Right? You remind the convert or about tshuva, returning to Judaism, about their past, you're in trouble. You're in serious trouble. It's called onis devarim. It's Torah prohibition. Can't remind someone of the past. I remember you saying shrimp. That's forbidden. Reminding you of your negative past. I remember you before you were Jewish. That's wrong. Yeah, that's negative. That you're not allowed to do. All right. Convert the Torah is very important. 37 times. Yeah, it's more than Lashon Hara is more than 30. So yeah, I forget how many times. Probably up there. Probably up there more than 30 also. Yeah. That's a problem. People say things, you get so many prohibitions in one shot. You gotta love the convert. Many times it says you gotta love the convert, right? You can't torment the convert. So why do people do it? Good question. Yeah, I'm not going to explain why people do things that they shouldn't do. Turner says, interesting. Some people's social values, standards will effectively evolve themselves out of existence. Yeah. Yeah. Some will be in the right value system and they'll perpetuate, right? But I've heard people say so. If Judaism doesn't survive, it won't survive. But Judaism is supposed to survive. And people will admit, if you don't have people like if you don't have people like me, it won't survive. It's true. But they'll say it was a good try. But the Torah says many times, we just mentioned. The Torah says many times it's forever. Forever doesn't mean it's like fly by night type of thing. And that's just gonna, and if it doesn't happen and Judaism dies, no, Torah says it's never gonna die. Question is who's gonna be around at the end. That's the whole question. Yeah, it's gonna be a remnant left. True. It might be true. But at the same time, if you don't put in the maximum effort to educate yourself and educate your kids, forget it. You don't have a chance. Not a chance. Not even a small chance. 80%, I think the statistic is someone who's intermarried, 80% of these children do not get any Jewish education. I'm not even talking bad Jewish education. None. So how do you expect them? How do you expect them to want to keep Torah mitzvahs at all? Or to perpetuate any Jewish value? It's not going to happen. 80%. Yeah, someone here mentions, well, the Parsha, we are commanded not to eat the fruit of the land during sabbatical year, right? Jubilee year, right? We're going to eat the crops of previous years. Okay. Before refrigeration, the crops, especially fruit and vegetables, all rot. They get a bumper crop. First of all, one of the things you see that Torah is true, and that's from God, is the fact that Torah promises you keep the sabbatical year in Israel, means you leave the land fallow. That means you get a bumper crop before. In 6 years, you get a bumper crop. Now, if that never happened in time the Jews were in the desert, they never would have passed this down. Right? Because the people of that generation would say, come on, never happened. We never got a bumper crop. That's one proof. Torah must be from God because this happened. Yeah. So they had so much before refrigeration. They could have it, they even without refrigeration. You can eat, if you store them well enough, doesn't have to be cold per se, right? Ice cold like we have today. What they do with wine and stuff. Yeah, they dig these big pits and whatever, and made it that way. So they stayed coldish, whatever. So why couldn't they do it by crops? Why couldn't they take crops and and take their family crops and put them somewhere where they wouldn't rot? Must have had a way of doing it. Otherwise, what would it help? What would it help if they got a bumper crop? All right, it's true. And in Parsh Bechukosai, right, we read yesterday. Sometimes paranoia, anxiety, and other issues like this are punished for not living by Torah. Bad stream, paranoia, schizophrenia, people think they're being chased. First of all, it's a mental disease. It's some of it has to do with chemical imbalance, which can be dealt with. Schizophrenia cannot only be dealt with, medication, but needs therapy also. When someone asked me this recently, or maybe not so recently, but can someone who has schizophrenia convert, or someone who's bipolar, could they convert? So the answer is, if they're being watched, go to therapy regularly, or they're on medication and they're doing okay, then it shouldn't be a problem. Yeah, they don't have episodes, they're living in quote unquote a normal life. That shouldn't be an issue, right? That shouldn't be an issue, right? The question is, some issues like paranoia and anxiety, are they punishments for not living by Torah? I don't know if it's punishment necessarily. I will say that, if a person had proper emunah bitachon, right, and you follow exactly what the Chovos HaLevavos and Duties of Heart says, you'll never have paranoia or anxiety. Because you understand where everything comes from. You understand, where tests come from. You understand God runs the world. But these things can be caused by other things. They can be caused by things that even with all the emunah bitachon in the world, the person can have some sort of messed up chemical imbalance. Well, that's a real thing. That has to be dealt with. Yeah, no matter how much you will Torah and you work so hard to learn and whatever, put it into action. If you have a chemical imbalance, you got to see someone fix it. Try and take medication to fix it. Some people say medication causes other problems. People can't live with a chemical imbalance in general. Causes mental illness, right? A number of them. But I would agree, if it's not a chemical imbalance, if it's not a chemical imbalance and a person was steeped in Torah and mitzvahs the proper way, you wouldn't have these, right? You would not have you would not have paranoia and anxiety. But at the same time, I would say, even if a person is steeped in Torah mitzvahs and they're working hard, they can still have some of these things because they're lacking in different ways. People can have panic attacks. Panic attacks also, not necessarily chemical imbalance, right? People get claustrophobic. What about people that are, afraid? What are they? Agoraphobic? I think that's the word. Afraid of crowds. I know someone that is, a number of people let's say, that are borderline, have Asperger's, let's say, or borderline Asperger's, like going to synagogue is a huge thing for them. They can't go where there's a big crowd. They're, I don't know, claustrophobic or whatever. Yeah, that's something inside of themselves. Obviously, a person can help for such a thing. Yeah, but there are certain things, that people have that have nothing to do with Torah. It has to do with their chemical makeup. Like I say, everything. I'm not an expert, in many of these things. But some of them are chemical imbalance. So that can be sort of dealt with. When you say I don't want to be medicated, and whatever, it depends. Depends how much medication a person needs. But something to offset it, and there are people on Prozac or on other things, it just takes the edge off so they don't explode all the time. Yeah. But I would say, in all these things of a person, with all the craziness goes on in the world, in their own lives, I would think, and this, you can take this with a grain of salt, I would think if a person's really steeped in Torah mitzvahs properly, working on Amun and Bitachon, these issues should never happen. Now, but if a person has a mental illness, it can happen from other things. Being steeped in Torah can make it worse. There are people who are OCD. People have, let's say, OCD. Yeah, when it comes to performing Torah mitzvahs, they go crazy. Did I really wash my hands enough? I have to wash them again, and this and that. It can make things a lot worse. Definitely make things a lot worse. Doesn't mean it can't be treated. But not everything, I don't believe 100%, but again, I'm not a world expert in this by any stretch. I think if a person, is steeped in Torah mitzvahs enough and has the right attitude, it should take 80% away of anything. But if a person has a serious chemical imbalance and is schizophrenic and it leads to other things, they're going to have to be on medication, some level of medication. But medication has side effects also. It's also true. One of my rabbis happens to be a trained psychologist, told me many times, he does whatever he can to keep people off of medication. People can live normal lives if, they get the right help. But he said he's dealt with people with paranoia and, schizophrenia. He said some things, he once told me, he said there are certain things, therapy, you can get you can get, what's the word? You can get to a certain point in therapy. But to really uproot it and really fix it, you need medication also. Doesn't mean you have to be over-medicated. I'm not saying that. And he's very much, to this day, against medication. But he says sometimes you cannot make a breakthrough unless the person's on a certain level of medication. In other words, therapy cannot will it all. Torah cannot will it all. But I would think if a person has the right attitude, even with all the craziness in their world, that goes on, around them, that attitude with the right outlook can deflate it a lot, can bring it down a lot. I'm not going to say it's going to disappear. I'm not going to say you might not need therapy or medication or both. Right? The Torah education is, if someone's got a chemical imbalance, Torah education doesn't help. It helps in certain ways. But the person thinks it's going out of their mind, but it's a chemical imbalance. How can Torah fix that? That's not something Torah can fix. Yeah. Sometimes I would agree. People get caught up in certain things and they get delusional. Yeah. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people out there. I'm not necessarily saying it's a certain disease. It is a certain disease, right? It's a mental disease, but what's it caused by? Right? It's caused by a world gone insane, right? Someone here says, socialism, communism, punishment for us. No, it's a test. The last generation in the early 1900s, what was the test of that generation? Communism, socialism, democracy, industrial revolution. These are all tests, right? These are all tests. But see, why do I say we get delusional? We get delusional because we don't know what's upside down, what's right or what's up or down. Because now society is trying to convince us, how do you know? How do you know you're not just binary? Right? How do you know you're not binary? How do you know you're really a male? Maybe you're in the body of a female. Maybe. How do you know what bathroom to walk in? It's delusional. But where does it come from? What's this generation? This generation is about what they see. This generation is about desire, fantasy. What are the movies that sell the most? Fantasy, sci-fi. It's not comedies. Comedies sell, not like, I think Marvel would have a lot to say about this. Or DC might have a lot to say about this. It's about fantasy, living other people's lives. Superheroes. What's it all about? It's about fantasy. Being delusional of what reality is today in this world. If a person's not delusional and what they think right is right or right is wrong or wrong is right, they are delusional. Why are they delusional? Because they don't have Torah mitzvahs. Because the way they view things is totally skewed. Right? So in other words, all the things we see around us have a negative effect. Negative effect. And if a person's seen so much of this garbage, you don't know what's reality, what's not reality. I'm not saying, again, people have this mental illness. You're going to say, plenty of people, they have jobs, they make plenty of money, this and that. Yeah, but they're living a delusional world. In a delusional world. In their own delusional world. People are going to work 12 hours a day, 15 hours a day. They want more money, more power, more this, more that. That's what the world's about. That's delusional. So it's about money. It's about power. It's about desire. Those are the things that are driving people today. Yeah, previous generations, it was about communism, socialism, and this and that. So if a person has a real mental disease, they're not delusional because they're just delusional and they're going after desire and this and that. They can be delusional because, again, there's a mental imbalance. I know someone just had an operation a number of weeks ago, had a bypass, person much older. And for the first 48 hours, they were totally delusional. Saying things that make sense, paranoid. Where'd that come from? Medication. That came from medication. In general, they come back to themselves, plus, and overcome all this, they have a good day, worse days, still in a lot of pain. Yeah, but medication can take its toll. Totally take its toll. But that's not what drives someone to be delusional. People today, what they see, they just do what they want. So I'm going to go on record here because we are recording, right? I will go on record that, yeah, anyone who's going to try and convince you, you get the schools, you get society, trying to convince that boys are girls and girls are boys, you don't know what you are, that's delusional. Those are delusional values. So you're going to say all these kids growing up, they have mental disorders? Not necessarily. I'm not saying they have mental disorders, but they have a very skewed way of seeing the world. And that's going to have an effect for sure. Have a negative effect, which they may need therapy and other things for, because society is so strong. Yeah, that could lead people to be delusional, thinking about what they think is right is totally wrong, and vice versa. I mean, let's take it one step further. Not that I like talking about this, but it just comes to the forefront. You have men dressed like women breaking all kinds of records in sports. That's insanity. If you're a sports fan, that's disgusting. Have a guy outrunning women and lifting more weights and doing you're not a woman. I'm sorry. You're a guy. Right? That's trying to convince people something. That's delusional. That's insane. Totally insane. So is it a wonder people growing up in this generation, that they're messed up mentally? Sure. Makes perfect sense. If they had a Torah outlook, from the very beginning, even if they're exposed to this, doesn't matter. But if they have a proper Torah outlook, is it going to affect them in general? No. They're going to think it's nuts. Why are these people doing that? It just goes against everything the Torah says. Yeah, they're not going to be delusional because they got the right. They have the right rudder. They have Torah. It's putting them in the right direction. These other people, they're insane. I hate to say it, they're insane. And I guarantee, and I've heard this said before many times, a lot of these people, who are gay or transgender or whatever, would wish that they weren't. Some are gonna, you're gonna tell me they're gonna embrace it, this and that. So, there are a lot out there that wish they were straight. Because it causes all kinds of problems. They don't fit in. They don't fit into the normal scheme of things. And they understand that. That's why they have to stick out. They have to have these parades. They have to, people have to pat them on the back, and it's so great. Then it, whatever. That's the reason. But I guarantee they don't feel so happy about themselves in general because they don't fit in. They totally don't fit in. People take it too far, way too far. So, is that a reason why people growing up today can be totally messed up? Yeah. Being exposed to all that, sure. But if you're exposed to do anything you want, whenever you want, and you're not grounded by anything, so are you living a normal life? According to them, yeah. According to us, they're delusional. They're totally delusional. That's not what life is. Totally, it's applied totally in the wrong way. Someone points out agoraphobia, fear of marketplace. Yeah. People have that. That's, I don't even know how you fix that. How that, if a person is, there are people that have Asperger's like that also, that they just don't like big crowds and, whatever. And that's kind of hard because you go to synagogue, there are a lot of people there. There are people that, don't pray with them in it because of it, because they can't handle being in such a situation. Someone here mentions therapy is like a painkiller. It helps deal with the symptoms and help people deal with situations. Not necessarily cure them. Okay. I'm saying in the ideal sense, where people know what they're doing, they can help people. I'm not saying all therapy and all therapists, but I'm saying, I think they could have the ability to help. They can help in many ways. Depends what the problem is. Some things are going to be chronic. 100%. Some things are going to be chronic. They'll never go away. It's just a question if it flares up and how you deal with it. There's some things that are so deep rooted. I know someone now going through something, he's going to have to rip himself to shreds, to absolute shreds because of certain things. Going to have to destroy the person himself in order to build him. I'm not sure the person can do it. Pretty convinced they can't. And I'd be surprised if anybody can do such a thing. They have to get to the root of everything and build, and break barriers. And it's very hard. It's very, very hard. If someone's able to do it, you can have major breakthroughs. Major breakthroughs. That mean a person can't slip up and this and that? No. It doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean a person can't be in a bad funk and all that. That's also true. It's not, but if a person is getting the help they need and they follow what they're supposed to do, it should help. But yeah, there are a bunch of quacks out there that can make things worse. That's also true, right? Therapy is not foolproof, no question. But also, people shouldn't be medicated up to the gazoo either, right? And yeah, again, it depends what it is, right? It's an individual thing here. It depends what it is. But one of my rabbis very much steeped in, psychology said, certain things therapy can help. Yeah, and you don't need anything else. But there are certain things therapy can be like 80%. You need medication also. Depends what it is. Depends what it is. Yeah, I'm not saying I'm a huge fan of therapy. I think it can help. If you get the right shaliach, you get the right messenger. There are people who've been totally helped. Are there certain things that just totally go away? No, I don't believe they totally go away, but they can be dealt with. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. It can flare up, at any time also. So it depends, how much you work on it, what you do. It's complicated like anything else. Would Eliyahu Kito be helpful in our learning? Yes. The book of our heritage is a very good book. All about all the different customs of all the holidays. Yeah, it's called the Book of Our Heritage. Right? I mentioned that last week. Very good book. Is voting a test? Good question. Or voting patriotism can be compatible with Judaism and Torah. I would say like this. Whoever's going to get into office, obviously it's from heaven. God, whoever wants a person to be elected, they will be. We have to look out for our own interests. Are they going to be good for the Jews? They're going to be good for Israel. They're not going to be good for Israel. Right? And a politician's a politician. Right? That doesn't change. What to say, you have 100 good politicians, it's called a good start. Yeah, they're known to be liars. They're known to say things because they want people to hear what they want to hear. But politician 100% can be a test. Here in Israel, it's always a test. right? Even the right wing, who is much better for other Orthodox Jews than the left. That there's nothing to talk about. It's also a test with them. They're not great lovers of Judaism, but they're gonna do. We have a lot of power, so they're gonna have to deal with us. The left doesn't want to deal with us; they want to destroy us. So okay, we won't have anything to do with them. But it's also a test for sure, because the right wing in power, and they're desecrating Shabbos by building things and doing other things that they shouldn't. And religious people are in the government right under their face, right under their noses, things going on. So yeah, that's a problem. And what do people do in America? They vote for the people who think that are going to be best for the Jews, whether Republicans or Democrats. Doesn't cross party lines. Sometimes Democrat could be better for Jews than Republicans. You would think Republicans would be better in general, maybe not. It depends. It depends. They have more values closer to ours in many ways. But yeah, and there are a lot of Orthodox groups that are going to interview people and whatever. They don't normally endorse candidates, but they will back certain candidates based on what their record could be, to help Jews, and that's who they're gonna vote for, who they think is the best for them. Is that a test? Of course, it's a test. It's one of the harder tests out there. You get burned also. You help elect somebody and they turn on you. Yeah, that's common. That is common. So you got to be in it for the long haul. But yeah, it's for sure a test. Is it compatible with Judaism and Torah? Yeah, if they have similar values. But again, each person has to be judged on their own. And a lot of them are not going to have values. The only question is who's got better values than the other. That's what it is. In other words, who's worse, this one or the other one? Yeah, that's what they, that's in Israel, everything's, Netanyahu is this, that, and the other thing. You think he's any better than the other side? To a certain extent, maybe. Only because he's closer in our values to a certain extent. He's no great lover of Orthodox Jews. Let's make no mistake. None of them are. Some are more traditional. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense for us to join with him. Fine. Is he a great lover of Jews? Would he throw us under the table? If he could, he would. I don't think there's any question about it. All of them would. Right? Even on the right. I'm not talking about the religion. I'm talking about the secular. Yeah. They would throw us under the table if they could. Under a bus, nothing talking about. Nothing to talk about. But they can't do that. Why can't they do that? Because we have a lot of power. We have a lot of power. We'll say we're not going to go with the left, but we won't join with you, and then they're toast. Then they can't form a government. Yeah, so they have to deal with us. They certainly have to deal with us, but yeah, they sometimes, go back on things that they said. They sign an agreement, and they go back and they say, "Oh, we can't do it right now. We'll do it later. We'll do this, with that," to push them off. All kinds of things. Politics is very tricky, very, very tricky. And if you're in the government here in Israel, and this desecration of Shabbos, other things, you have guilt on your hands. But they say it's better we're in the government than not. That's true, right? That is true to a point, because they're going to say if we're not in the government, then they can do whatever they want. It'd be much worse. Okay. But at the same time, when all these things are going on right in front of your face, you look bad. It's like you agree with it. So Rebbe says better be in the opposition. That's why he doesn't vote. That's why a certain percentage don't vote for exactly that reason. It's not the majority by any stretch. The majority say you have to vote. Okay. Right? The majority say you have to vote. So you have to ask your own rabbinic authority what to do in such a case. Yeah, but again, even if the right makes sense for the ultra Orthodox to go with, are they any great lovers of Judaism? No. They're not. Some of them are more traditional. I'm not going to say not, but most, if they could throw us under the bus, they would do it in a second, in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Wouldn't even be a question. Why? Because they really hate Torah also. But what can they do? They have to deal with us. Yeah. Sometimes choice in voting is figuratively choice between pork sausage and cheeseburger. Yeah. Yeah, Rebbe would say it's the difference between an avela and a treifa, right? An avela is an animal that dies, dies before you shecht it, before you kill it, so you can't eat it. And a treifa you can't eat, right? A treifa is a blemished animal, right? For any number of reasons. So he says the choice between an avela and a treifa. Yeah, so you make a good point. A pork sausage or cheeseburger? Yeah, cheeseburger is worse. Cheeseburger is worse. Milk and meat. Yeah, that's worse. It's worse than eating pork. So, pork's not forbidden to get benefit from. Cheeseburger is, right? So at different levels. The question is, what's worse and what's worse? What's worse and a little bit better than worse? That's what it is. It's a test. People get caught up in the politics and this and that. You know what? God runs the world. The hearts of kings are in the hands of God. Yeah. So whoever's supposed to be in power will be in power. That's the way it is. Right? 100%. That's the way it is. Someone asked, what's your opinion on Noah's buying a new house or property? How can they bless the house? Are there any rituals for it? No blessing for the house. But they can? Why not? Why not? Why shouldn't they buy a new house if they can? Why should they spend, waste money renting? The only people who make money renting are the people who own the houses, or own the apartments. So yeah, can a person buy one? Sure. You make a blessing over it? No. No blessing for no one. Yeah. Any other questions? Someone sells a house and the money they get for it is money for a new house. Yeah. Yeah, that's not a problem. You can use it for good things. Right? Sell a house, you buy a new house, why not? The question is, you make a new blessing. That's the question. That's the question. Warning, I've heard someone says, whoever you vote for, you're agreeing with them. Right. Right. None of our leaders care about morality. True. Right. So yeah, there is a problem. There is a problem, but again, some are better, some are worse. So you're not voting for their morality for sure, even if they're bad. You're voting because this person can look out for our interests better than the other person. Doesn't mean they're much more moral. Doesn't mean that. Right. So, here it's a little bit different because here you're voting, you're really voting for a party, and then, for for the prime minister, whatever. So really it's voting for religious parties. Okay. Yeah, I'm just saying the problem is that the religious parties are in government, and the government's doing things on Shabbos that they shouldn't be doing, and they're there. It's like they agree. That's a problem. Yeah. In the States, if the person, or anywhere else, the person's immoral, you're not voting for that. You're voting for what they can help you with, what they can help Jews with, or whatever. The question is, someone said they buy a new house, they have to pay tzedakah. They have to pay, if they didn't make any money from it, it was an even swap, then no. But let's say, they bought it for 50 and sold it for 75. So in that 25, they have to give charity for. They have to give 10%. Yeah, they have to give 10%. If they made money from it. If they didn't make money from it, obviously you don't have to. Right? Even if you made a lot of money from it. Right? Let's say you bought something at 85, you sold it for 300. Yeah, so so you have to give stuck on 10% of the difference. Right? 300 minus 85 is what, 215. So you have to pay 21,000 in charity. You have to give 21,000. That's how it would work. So, again, whatever you bought it for, and whatever you sold it for, the difference in price is what you give. Not on what you sold it. Third says I voted primary because the candidate running against us was an anti-Semite. Yeah, it's a good reason to vote. Definitely true. But we're going to vote for people who have our best interest. That's what we're going to do. So that being the case, again, we're not agreeing with what all the things they say and they do. I'm just saying it's more of a problem here. More of a problem here in Israel because of what they represent. They're Jews. Yeah, there's a question here about Siddur of Chaim Kanievsky thought Siddur. I don't know. I don't have it. So I can't say. Yeah, any other questions? All right, I'm going to stop here. I do this every Sunday, 9 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Israel time. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, or Orthodox Conversion Judaism, or you can Take a look at Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. We'll have videos there on the Torah Portion of the Week, conversion, ethics of our fathers, Q&As, and controversial issues. Otherwise, you send me an email, rabbichaimkoffman@gmail.com, RBBICHIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com. Wish having a good beginning of the day, middle of the day, end of the day.